well, we do have a quorum here, so let's get started. So Corey and
Yes.
okay, so Corey Megan
Yep. Hello.
and I am here, so let us start.
Okay.
And let's see, the second item on the agenda is the next meeting dates. And I've listed them, through the end of the year. So we have October, November, and December. And as we were just discussing here, I'm a kind of a lame duck member now. And, I'm still only here because the select board, has this rule about, if the position isn't filled, in order to keep the committee going, that, it will be, actually, I think it's at the end of the calendar year or 6 months or something like
I
that.
thought it was the end of the year.
End of the year, okay. But in any case, there is quite a bit of stuff that we can cover between now and the end of the year, I think. Well, we'll see what comes up today. As far as the next 3 months are concerned, in October, November, and December, how many of the people here today currently will be around then? And are there any preferences or, issues with, with dates? We've typically been meeting on Thursdays, and it's been kind of toward the end of the month, but, we can maybe rearrange that according to people's availability.
Can you give us the dates in October, November, and December?
Yeah, I'm not looking at a calendar, but it would be Thursday.
So in October, for example, it could be the 23rd is a Thursday.
Okay, I will be away on that day.
The week before that, 16th.
I'm away on that day too. I leave the 15th and I come back the 25th.
The 30th of October.
I could do that.
Okay,
Megan, are you available then?
Yep, I am. I just, like, as you know, sometimes my schedule changes last minute and I'm like, oh gosh, I have to scramble, but yeah, I'll put the 30th down. That sounds good.
well, hopefully everyone will be back. I think it was only going to be gone for a week.
And then November, maybe the 20th is the Thursday. The week after that would be Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it sounds like we don't want to crowd
Too close.
Thanksgiving too
Right.
much.
No.
So you could do 13th of November or the 20th, 13th or the 20th, either of those work? What do you prefer?
The 13th does not work for me.
Either one is okay.
Can you do the 20th?
Yeah,
Julie, you good?
I can do either one.
Yes,
Okay, we'll say the 20th for now.
that's a Monday,
The 20th of November?
excuse
No.
me. Thursday.
Okay. And then, Vince, you want to do December too?
Yes,
Let's see, so,
subject to changes
Right.
between now and then, yeah.
so the 11th,
Okay.
18th would be Thursdays.
I can't do the 11th.
Can't be the 11th?
How about anytime that week, the 9th, the 10th? Is it just that one time? You have the whole week?
I mean, I can try to,
No, I mean,
it's just a one day.
do you want to say the 10th, the Wednesday, the 10th? Is that good?
That's,
It's good for me.
that works for people.
Yep.
The 10th?
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe Julie.
Thank you for doing that.
All right,
Okay.
so the next item is minutes. And in fact, we do have minutes for the last Big Access Committee meeting. Since we were on summer hiatus, that last meeting was in June of 2025. And they were attached, so, I doubt whether anybody here has been able to read them, but let me describe what they are. They're actually the minutes as prepared by the Zoom AI companion. And they're actually quite good as far as I can tell, and I believe really, satisfy all of the requirements of what
That's
minutes
not
should
Mission
be.
statement.
Mission statements.
Here they are, here they are.
Ah,
Save that, though. We're gonna get there.
yeah.
Here are the minutes, here's a copy of them.
I don't need.
Okay.
What I'm curious, Jason, if maybe you know, is, how many committees, now have access to the AI companion?
Typically, it's the committees who ask for a copy of it. Shannon has been sending them out, or Kristen, who's Shannon's replacement,
Yeah,
has been sending them out when she receives them from Zoom. I gave a talk to the select board about AI, using AI for minutes, and we're gonna be doing a training soon that's gonna talk about Zoom as security, as
Mhm.
well as AI. Transcription and features that can help with the draft of minutes, so I assume more will start doing it after that.
Yeah, well, I think certainly, the agents are, I don't think they're quite ready yet, but I would suspect in the near future, it'll be possible, to have an agent, to kind of do most of the grunt work. Let people do the people work, but, it's definitely not a replacement, but.
No.
You gotta review
You
those.
have to,
You
yeah.
gotta review those.
Oh, yes, absolutely. The other thing I was thinking about, who may be a good source to do this at some point, not necessarily in this year, but this could be a good project for, the STEM curriculum in the high school. And, I think there's probably some of the kids here who are pretty savvy on this stuff already, so.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that's good, that certainly will be possible. And I don't think it's really, I guess, it becomes a burden on, Amali's replacement. And is Amali a full-time now with the MCI?
Amali?
I mean,
Shannon.
Shannon, yeah.
Shannon has moved into a different role, so she does MCI and a few other
Ah,
things.
okay.
Yeah. I think her title is management analyst or something like that.
Ah, okay. All right. Anyway, please review the minutes. We don't, and I'll ask Erwin, I guess, he's kind of the ex officio clerk here now, and,
Is he?
I'll check them out, take notes and discuss it with him, before the next meeting. From what I've seen, at least in terms of the format, they, certainly are enough. And I believe actually that, the entire transcript could be generated, but, that's a very lengthy kind of a thing for any committee, and particularly if it's, a 2 or 3 hour session.
This doesn't have a listing of the attendees.
Right, these are not minutes.
Right,
He's,
It's a meeting summary.
right.
right.
Right,
Oh.
so he's suggesting that Erwin could take the meeting summary and
Ah, got
perhaps
it. So-
draft
so
the
we're not-
minutes
You
and.
guys are not reviewing the minutes, you're reviewing. the meeting
Right, I
summary.
think
Right.
historically PAC fell a little behind on minutes, and so they're
Right.
trying to propose a solution going forward to get them approved more quickly. So yeah,
Yeah.
these are not to be voted on in this
Right.
form.
Yeah,
No,
I'll have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
No, that's okay, yeah, we.
Well, by the way, I believe actually there is a format, I can look into this, because certainly for the full transcript, because everybody, particularly when they participate offline, I mean, at home or wherever, the Zoom can identify everybody by the way they've logged in. And I have seen that, and I forgot, in what version of a summary, that the AI companion can cover that, but I believe we should look into that, Jason, maybe as part of, what you give to the select board, because everybody remotely is identified. And the AI is now good enough that once it knows, your particular tonal and personal inflections, it will actually then use that for future reference.
Ah,
It remembers that, as long as you're logged into the same account,
Mhm.
basically.
Can I ask a particular question? I'm the select board rep, so tell me if I'm out of order. At the bottom of page 2, where you're discussing no, I wasn't at the meeting, you're discussing the DEI commission.
Yeah, diversity, equity. and
Yeah,
inclusion,
yeah, right. And some discussion about reconstituting it, and can you give me some background to that?
Yeah, I'm not sure how I provided the whole discussion for that, but it's long been fairly high on the visibility list of the committee and other people too, because there's in the Council of Aging, they have a accessibility,
Show me where.
Bottom of page 2.
yeah. There's a guy named Bob Andrews, is the
Yeah.
head of the Accessible Listening Group. And so he's long been interested in making sure that basically all of the, I guess you'd call it the official proceedings of Concord government, are available readily to, disabled people, basically, people that have, either hearing or even vision problems, although that hasn't come
Yeah.
up specifically. So one of the things that he had, and his group at the COA had done is, and this dates back probably 3 years ago now. They had listed all of the locations where committee meetings were held.
Okay, excuse me, I'm talking about the DEI commission?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's diversity, it's not a commission here, it's just diversity, equity,
It is a
and
commission. here.
inclusion. Well, it's a national law, so,
We have a DEI commission.
yes,
Okay,
yeah, we do.
so were you discussing our DEI commission? And
Actually, it applies to both, although,
just trying to understand the context, because
Yeah. well, that's. a good
noting that
point,
many of his
actually.
responsibilities could be handled by staff and department heads.
I don't think, yeah, so I'm trying to find this document. This is the one that she printed,
Uh-huh.
is not the one that Vince sent out for this meeting. This is for June. You sent out the.
Okay, am I looking at something else?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
what's funny about that is that,
I'm sorry, I may be looking at
Shannon
something.
sent
completely-
two versions.
Yeah, so I think Shannon sent him the meeting summary from a different one that Julie printed the wrong one, so.
Right,
You may be reading the wrong,
Oh, I
Meeting
am reading wrong,
summary.
but this is from June.
yeah,
Okay,
so sorry.
well,
okay.
curious what the conversation was back
Yeah.
in June anyway.
Yeah, let me-
Yeah.
Maybe it's out of date.
Well, what you raise is a, significant issue that, I don't think our local DEI commission has, been sufficiently updated, not, at their fault, but, probably on the fault of, both Bob Andrews' group over at COA and also, since, PAC has been involved, or actually MMN has been involved in terms of making sure, or potentially making sure that all of the sites, where government meetings are held would support that. And
So that is not a DEI conversation. That was about PEG Access Committee, the committee itself existing and what they should do and should they.
So this is
The-
okay.
So this is a hallucination, and because we have one microphone and one, yeah, so
Okay.
this had nothing.
I
to do-
apologize.
Yeah, that's
Nothing-
okay. Well,
Let's start all over again. Let me
That's
put
okay,
this down.
That's okay.
So.
so.
Yeah, I actually thought that hallucinations were going down, but,
They are, well, I think because of the sound, like if we were all remote and we each had a speaker into our own microphone, it does a very good job.
Yeah.
When a bunch of people are talking away from a microphone and it's trying to understand what they're saying. And somebody might have said DEI at some point in the conversation, but we definitely didn't talk about the DEI commission. So,
well, by the way, this is definitely in a, actually, they have discovered one of the main causes of hallucinations, and it's because the AIs are trained to always give an answer. So
Right.
even if they don't have complete information, they'll kind of try to make the best answer possible. And the solution for at least some of that is that you say, if you don't know, say so.
Well, apropos of my question, I'll withdraw the question, but it is a very indicative of why the AI
Alright.
transcripts have to review pretty carefully, because you're talking about something completely different.
right, exactly.
Okay,
Everybody's learning,
Next
by the
topic.
way.
anyway. so-
Okay. So, next item.
Could I ask one more question for you
Sure.
at the beginning? So, as far as, the advisory, PEG advisory, how many vacancies right now are there, just from the select board point of view, how many vacancies are there to fill?
Technically, I think on the site there are, well, me,
You for sure,
Right.
Corey, her term expired this year, and she said she didn't want to renew.
right,
But she is continuing, as Vince did, to try to make sure there's a quorum.
right,
So I think two,
yeah.
and
Megan and Erwin are on for another year, I believe.
Right.
Currently.
So you do have several vacancies
Right.
and you need a chair as
And,
well, which is up to,
the committee.
So-
And the
You got-
school rep is new, and I think
Yeah.
she's more or less a permanent member until, they've changed.
I'm asking because I'd like to bring that to the
This is a
attention.
hallucination. Yes,
At the select board meeting, I'd like to
Yeah.
just mention,
Yeah.
and we're very,
Yeah.
interested in vacancies and trying to, quote unquote, advertise.
yep,
Okay,
And there's one thing that I haven't, mentioned to Corey, and actually it's a question that I have, is you may ask the board, and there is a category called auxiliary members. And these are typically non-voting members.
associate members,
Uh,
I think
I-
it's, well,
It's either associate or auxiliary
Yeah.
member. But anyway, this is for non-voting members that are considered to have some particular interest or expertise. So they're non-voting, and I have seen them in a few other committees, but it doesn't seem to be common.
there are few, and I believe it's at discretion of the chair. But you do need a court, you do need to
Yeah, they're
course,
non-voting, yeah, these are non.
I think you can- add non-voting members with particular expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Corey, that's something I was gonna mention to you, because, obviously with your legislative experience, these are the times that try men's souls, so.
Yes, they do.
So, and I think just in terms of, some of the legislative activities, of the state, for instance, they've now postponed, a new open meeting set of rules for, I think, the last 3 years. And it's just because they haven't gotten to it, so we're still operating under the rules that were during the pandemic, that were enacted temporarily during the pandemic. And of course, the other thing within that span of time is that during the pandemic was, almost the first advent of Zoom, for meetings, because
Okay,
previously been a lot of business, types of meetings, but they were hard to, go to meetings, things like that. I think even what is the Microsoft one? That's used quite frequently. Anyway, Zoom was very much easier to use, so it became quickly adopted. And it's now almost used for everything. A lot of people use it to keep in touch with their relatives, etc. But just the point is that it may be, very useful in this committee if there are some people that do have, special knowledge such as you. And they wouldn't have to attend all the meetings, but if a topic came up, it might even be a request, just to sit in, and again.
okay, yeah.
So
Yes, Jason, do you think we should ask Simon Cataldo to add an amendment to that? Saying that the legislature has to abide by the same open meeting rules?
I guess outside the scope of the PEG Access Advisory Committee.
that has come up.
Yes, it has. Because it really interrupts and has a negative effect on local governments. And a remedy is not forthcoming because they don't experience it. The complications from having rules where people can't talk to each other when they're not in the meetings.
By the way, for your information, Corey Atkins was the Concord representative in the state legislature. How many years were you in the
I've
state
lived here
legislature?
as long as, how long have you been in town, Corey? How many years?
how many years since at 77 that I moved to Concord. And
Mhm.
then I was the representative from for about 20 years,
Yeah, so,
Wow.
yeah, and of
a
course,
little shy of 20 years. The difference is that we didn't, as reps, you get staff who do all these technical things for you and make sure you get to every single meeting you're supposed to be at. So I find it difficult.
remember Zoom back in 77 though.
Yeah.
Or the internet, or
Right.
cell phones, or credit cards. Okay, forget it. Next up.
Or, the only thing I really know how to do anymore is still drive my car. Most of the time. Sometimes I can get GPS, sometimes I can't. Um,
Hey, Vince, do you want to move on to the Comcast?
but to answer the question, I think you asked me, Vince, I'd be happy to be an advisor in advisory capacity
Yeah, I
To the
think that would be very
once
useful,
I leave the committee of seat.
yes, to the committee going forward.
Right.
Okay, so next item is Comcast contract Q&A. And Jason, why don't you tell us about, what the contract is about and when it was signed and
Sure. Yeah, so we did make a presentation to the select board. They signed the agreement with Comcast. This is a once a decade process we go through, and it guarantees revenue for the town for the studio and PEG access and all the salaries for the staff and all the equipment that we purchase here. And so we went through that long process, which I won't elaborate here because a lot of people know about it, but Paul, if you have any questions, let me know. And the select board signed it, Comcast signed it, it's been filed with the DTC, and so it is now in effect, which is great. The fruits of that will start coming soon. The first check should come in October at the new rates and with the new capital payments. Capital payments this year, this contract are annual instead of before there was a lump sum at the beginning and then another payment a few years in. So there were only 2 payments over the 10 years. Now it's annualized. So we do anticipate seeing in October, the first check that includes the capital payment for the first year. And that is a fixed price plus a percentage of their annual gross revenue for the capital. And then the quarterly checks that we always get are a percentage of annual gross revenue. And that's 5% is what we get for that.
So the first check is just the fixed price and then the quarterly payments are based on revenues.
Right, so they're actually, the October will be both, it will be capital plus the quarterly. And then every quarter after that for a year, it will be just the quarterly, and then next October it will be the big check. So once a year, it'll be a bigger check every quarter, about $75,000-$80,000. That's what's
And I
coming.
forget, Jason, that percentage the same or we negotiated a different
Higher.
percent?
It was 4.8 before, it's now 5. It can only be 5. 5 is the limit, so we're kind of at the limit. The reason it had been 4.8 was that they give some other contributions in the contract, like free basic cable and some other small, like the annual license fee. Comcast's position in the past had been that detracts from the total amount that they have to give us under the Cable Act. And so we're basically saying max this out to the 5, which is in the Cable Act, and then these other things are in addition, and they agreed to do that. So we're in a better position. It'll be a little bit. I mean, that 0.2% is not a huge amount of money, but it's the most that we could get.
And what's the fixed amount?
The fixed amount is $28,000 a year plus 0.6% of gross revenue. And so I'll pull up the table in a minute, but it's $600-something thousand, $100,000 over the life of the agreement. So it's about 65,000, I think, a year is the total. So 28 plus another, 35 or something. And before, I think it was 160 times 2, so it was 320,000 or something before. So it's significantly almost twice as much as it was before. Some of the other changes are number of channels. We right now have 3 SD channels, standard definition. We negotiated for 4 HD channels. So all of the programming can be in high definition. One concern that we had was that not everybody has a HD set-top box. So we don't want to disenfranchise folks who can't watch the programming in HD, because if you don't have it, you simply can't get to those channels. Comcast has agreed to kind of leave the SD channels there for a while. The new broadcast equipment that Julie bought has 8 channels, so we can keep the old 3, add the new 4, and still have enough channels in our equipment to broadcast, so that's
Mhm.
great. And, you know, they have also pledged to help us get those HD boxes to people for free. I mean, they're free anyway, but they're gonna give free installation to folks. You know, it used to be you could just call them up, they come to your home and install everything for you. These days, they ship you a box, and if you don't know, you know, the technical installation of that, you're gonna need help, and right now, you'd have to pay, Comcast has agreed in the contract to pay for that. And then there is a senior citizen discount, which is 10% for 60 and over. And that's something that we'll have to work on advertising to folks. It's a modest discount, but it's, you know, something we should make people aware of, because it didn't used to exist.
So the broadcasting, so in the interim, do you broadcast simultaneously in HD and non-HD on those basically duplicate channels
Correct.
until the HD replaces everything? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once we hear that either the number is, you know, in the tens or something, or there's none left, at that time we can stop broadcasting in SD. Obviously, if there's no customers, there's no point. But as long as there are a number of people who only have SD, we'll definitely, it doesn't add anything from Julie's budget perspective or work. The channels can essentially be mirrors of the others. So there'll be a government channel HD and a government channel SD. And it'll just be the same content. It's just that if you only have an SD TV or box, you can at least still watch the content.
Oh, a question, Julie, on Teleview.
Hmm.
Is all of the Teleview HD?
It will be,
Okay,
will be.
so,
The 4 new channels will all be
Yeah.
HD.
you know, we're viewing is what Teleview calls mobile apps, which, you know, are phones, tablets, and also things like Roku TVs. And that's going to be possibly the most convenient way for people to access
Yes,
MMN at this point.
yes.
But that is, where do they get the bandwidth for that? Where does Teleview? I'll just Teleview bandwidth.
To stream those things. I mean, they have cloud services, service providers,
Okay,
and so they take the content from here, and then that way they can push it out to a lot of people.
okay, so that's bundled into their price.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
How many subscribers are there now in Comcast?
Well, they don't tell us per se, but they have to give us a check once a year for 50 cents per subscriber. So obviously we can figure it out by multiplying that by 2. And I want to say, was it 4,000 or
I think you said 3,500.
3,500, yeah.
Meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
And this is Concord and Carlisle? Or
Just Concord.
Just Concord.
Carlisle gets their own franchise agreement and their own
Yeah.
payment, and then they pay Minuteman Media for access to the
Got it.
studio and for covering their events.
Got it.
And remember, MMN is a town department. It used to be CCTV, which was a not-for-profit. And then several years ago, I think 2019 or so, it was absorbed as a town department. So, yeah, I think, oh, and I did see the numbers. It was $176,000 over the 10-year agreement for the old contract for capital, $615,000 for the new agreement, for the life of the agreement.
What's still in the kitty, the capital kitty?
I think, so the town is closing their fiscal 24 audit. We'll have a better picture once they do that. They're also working on the 25 audit at the same
Oh.
time. So once we think it's about $1.3 million in the fund. And then we're gonna be starting the budget process very soon and presenting that to the committee to get feedback, and then ultimately a recommendation that's presented at the enterprise hearings, as well. So the 4th channel is something that we'll need to talk about. You know, you have in here responsibilities of parties. And one of the things that we'll need to talk about is what content is going on that 4th channel.
Yeah.
PEG stands for Public Education and Government. So right now we have 3 channels, and we kind
Right.
of have a logical breakdown. If somebody comes to the studio to produce their own content, we're putting it on the public channel. The schools have their graduation or student, made material, we're putting that on the education channel. Government meetings going on the government channel, but now we have a 4th channel. Part of our argument was that Carlisle is given 3 channels, And Concord is given 3 channels, but there's only one head end for those 2 entities, so we've always been sharing those same 3 channels. So the concern is if Carlisle has a select board meeting and Concord has a select board meeting, only one of them is aired live and the other one is just saved, recorded and aired later. So potentially we could use that 4th channel for simultaneous government meetings or other public, meetings. It could be an education meeting live or something that rises to the level of wanting to go to another channel, so.
And some pay stations will take an extra channel, make it the community bulletin board 24 hours a day too.
Yes.
Information, right?
Calendar of events.
Right, because that calendar right now is interspersed with programming, and it's useful when you see it, but it's also, we know that lives on the internet and other places, and over time, more and more people tend to go there for the calendar, but some folks don't have access to the internet,
Yeah.
and it's the only way they get it. And so you either have to hope that they're seeing it the moment you're showing it, or, they're never gonna see it, so that's.
We'll have to decide, if Carlisle probably would be in favor of having it.
Well, it could be dual,
Channel.
it could be a bulletin board until it's needed for something else, I think some of the language that was discussed in the contract negotiations was. They don't wanna give us a channel that we're not gonna use, they wanna see locally produced original content on the channels that they give, that bandwidth is money for them, and they don't want it to just be sitting there. So I think they would prefer to see content on it over a bulletin board, but I think we could do both things,
Okay.
So it could be most of the time bulletin board, and then it's preempted if there's something that's really important to get out live and we've already got, content. Because what we would do sometimes too is put that Carlisle programming on the education channel, and then people are flipping through and they go, oh,
Right.
this isn't the right channel, I thought I was gonna see the graduation, or,
Right.
and of course, all this stuff is like video on demand now. People can watch anything anywhere. It's all on YouTube. It's also on Teleview, has the apps that we're going to look at in a minute. But there's a few other things that need to be tracked that were in the old contract too, just in terms of complaints, customer complaints and customer satisfaction. People can always come to the committee or to the Minuteman Media department if they feel like they can't get their issues addressed by Comcast, and it might be service is taking too long to spin up or change, or I've been trying to return my device and I can't, or my quality is not as it's guaranteed. Any of those things come sometimes through the committee, through the chair, and we'll talk about them and address them. It's nice having a Julie and a Jason here because we know the contacts at Comcast and can make phone calls and try to get those things fixed. But that's something that we continue to maintain as part of the contract, is just to make sure that Comcast is upholding their quality and customer service pledges that are in the agreement.
Well, one thing I know that has been mentioned in the past, but really not, done in reality, is possibly to have something like an annual review, public annual review, what people should be expecting from Comcast, and if they did have problems, to do exactly that, to communicate that and make sure that they were resolved. And, some kind of public outreach.
Yeah.
In other words, to make people aware of the process. And since Comcast is not one of the most loved,
Right.
services.
What cable company is?
On the other hand, even from my personal experience, I know that they will give good support, but sometimes you have to wait until the guy comes, because the technicians seem to be very good.
Right. Looks like Corey does.
Yeah, Corey?
You're muted, Corey. Corey, you're muted.
I got all excited when I heard the word calendar. We don't have in any media format a way to find out what's happening in Concord on Tuesday or Wednesday or any particular day. Is that something that can be listed on that fourth channel? Like that there's one place for people to post?
So to make that happen, we would have to solicit to the other town departments, tell us what's going on, or create a flyer for us, or they would have to, the success of that would be folks giving us the information.
Right, but right now there's no, Julie, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to add work for you, but I'm trying to find a place where people in the community can find out what's happening that day anywhere. And any group can post on it. So if you're the knitting group at Council on Aging and you meet at 3, you know, there's a place that says that. Because the bridge doesn't cover that much.
Right.
And the town website, most people my age can't plod through to,
Okay.
you know, find things. And there isn't one site where things are just listed.
Right.
I agree so strongly with you on that. There's so many instances where we in the select board and others ask the question, how are we going to get that information out?
Right.
You know, a small example, town manager now has this Concord Currents little
Mhm.
newsletter, which is really informative, but you have to go to the website. At least now we have a button that says communicate, right? Before that it was buried, but you have to go to the website to get the information. I think there's some specific types of information that we ought to mine. And it's not your responsibility, it's responsibility of departments to get out there, whether they're events that are happening or whether it's education on various committees, what the committees do.
Yeah.
I mean, during the campaign, I was telling Megan Zamuto, because she runs the podcast, the most frequent question I asked me is, what does the select board do?
Mhm.
I mean, that's an interesting question, but
We could make a little video about that.
you know, we have
That's good.
our government, you know, I don't know how we do this, but whether it's current events or events in town or getting the word out or education about the town.
You know, yeah, you could break it into categories too, faith community, government meetings, social, you know, whatever. So people can go quickly to whatever they're looking for.
Take
Right.
away from- It's an opportunity. We gotta think about how to mine that opportunity. Don't wanna,
Gotcha.
because there'll be lots of ideas. I agree, Corey. That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
You know, it's the one thing, it's the one request that I hear a lot about. I don't know where to go to find out, you know.
Town calendar.
It definitely needs to live on the internet, but maybe could be broadcast as
Be
well.
broadcast.
It shouldn't start with because not as many people are gonna be
There's
looking.
the multiple ways of getting the word out.
Right.
There's no one.
Right, but I'm just saying in terms of effort, it should be like a web repository that she can
Something like-
then broadcast on TV, right? So
Right.
like, cause
So
like
everybody
otherwise there's gonna be a
uploads.
mistake. She's gonna forget to add something that was over here, or they're gonna forget to add something that's over there. So one place, but that pulls in everything, pulls in
Yes.
the town calendar, the bridge, the arts, the everything. And people can
So like
post
the
it at
COA can upload their calendar and everybody can upload
the
it. to
visitor
one
center
place,
has a calendar.
And then I will take that and broadcast it instead of me.
Committee.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many things. we
There's
could
a
do.
lot, but I agree, Jason. It has to live somewhere and
Right.
extract it.
Well, actually, the Telview apps are maybe a start in that direction, because I've noticed that for many communities in using our Telview app, they tend to use it or can use it as an aggregator,
Mhm.
which means minimum it puts in the links
Mhm.
to, you know.
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
Other related groups, for instance, the COA publishes a monthly newsletter,
Mhm.
all of the activities that COA
Right,
is doing.
right.
So the first, you know, start on that is, you know, for possibly the Telview to have a link there, not to COA generally, but to their newsletter, you
Mhm.
know. And then, you know, the step beyond that, of course, is summarizing, you know, many of these, you know, in a more concise form, but, you know, that's something to be worked out. And the same applies to the bridge.
Mhm.
You know, there should be an active link, obviously, to the Concord Bridge. And if the Concord Bridge, you know, could have a column or something like that of that nature, maybe that's a suggestion to the Concord Bridge. You know, it's kind of a column that says, hey, this is, you know, this is what's happening in the town, and, you know, it's not only the government activities, but, you know, Ag Day and whatever else is, you know, general.
Yeah.
interest.
The thing is, Vincent, is that we have really a lot of things happening, you know, a lot of calendar events of different things. And like the bridge can't print it all. And when you take the different communities and the different meetings happening around town, but there isn't, you know, I'll just repeat myself, there isn't one place for somebody to go look and get the information. I don't think the bridge is gonna give pages and pages to calendars. They just they tend to lean more towards the arts.
A lot of space to the police blotter.
Yeah,
Well, to start, you know, well, what it would probably require on the part of the bridge is to have, you know, a string or a correspondent, you know, that was potentially, you know, consistently there, that they could say, hey, this is what's going on this week or this month or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think they want to do that from what I've heard, but I,
Some point, although, you know, long term, you know, the town will be able to do things like aggregation, but you know, that's.
My final word, the difference between the bridge and the fourth channel is that we control the fourth channel.
right. And I
You know,
can add more.
and we can't force anything on the bridge. We could ask them, you know, occasionally I'll ask, hey, could you put this in the article, you know, but
Right.
it's,
But remember, the fourth channel is connected to the town and government and can't be censored either, so if people are posting to the calendar, then, you know, that's something that we.
Yeah.
If we're just pulling it from the source, then we can say like.
Yeah.
Pulling it from the source, but if we own it and curate it, then people are gonna
Mhm.
argue, I want this on there, and then people are gonna say, well, I don't want that on there, and.
Yeah.
so you're a glass half empty guy.
No, no. I'm a, how do we make it happen? We will
You're-
definitely
you're-
make it
You're a
happen.
real
Yeah.
inside.
He's how do we
Yes, I
put the
agree.
water in the glass
Yes.
guy?
Well, I guess any kind of reporting, I mean, you know, there are freedom of press issues.
You got a hand up, you got a hand
Yeah.
raised.
You wanna call in Nancy Bills?
Oh, sure. Nancy?
I'm sorry, I was gonna wait until the end, but it seemed, I just wanted to say that the Mosquito does a calendar
Yeah,
going for so long that it operates not seamlessly. There's an editor who's in charge, but it's also it happens to be the same editor usually that does the letters to the editor. And she just collects everything that comes in, and occasionally with town committees, she follows up to make sure that she's got all the town committee meetings on there. It's one page. It just, I mean, once you've got it going, I don't think it's that much work. And I agree that it probably should not be a town-owned TV station that's running it. The other thing I thought of is, what about the Concord Library? Is it possible that the Concord Library could do that kind of coordination?
yes, so to make it happen, we would reach out to all of these folks and tell them, send me everything that you have.
Nancy?
Yeah, but you still do need a certain amount of staff time. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I don't think it's science. It should be that hard for Concord of all places.
I
But
know.
anyway, that's my little editorial for the day.
Getting set up and founded, you know, they went to Mosquito and asked if they wanted to do something jointly. And, you know, Mosquito told that group, no, but we certainly will be able to, we will help cooperate with you, you know, in setting up the bridge, so.
Bring up the speed real quick. Jason was discussing the new Comcast contract. As part of that, there's a fourth channel that's been added to the so we're discussing what can one do with the fourth channel.
That's already been added, or?
So it will be added. This does not exist today. So today we have 3 ST channels, contract guarantees 4 HD channels. Those are, Carlisle also has an agreement with Comcast where they get channels. They're the same channels. They negotiated their contract before us and got an upgrade as well. And so Comcast has been trying to time these simultaneously, but I would anticipate it's actually going to be in the very near future that they're going to seek to upgrade these to HD, because Carlisle's contract was negotiated first and they had a certain time limit that they had to get those installed by.
Mhm.
So I think very soon they're going to reach out to schedule it. But in terms of responsibilities, that's one that is definitely on Julie and the team here, is to make sure that when we see the date that they, you know, guarantee the 4th channel will be turned up by, and when the HD conversion will be, and all that equipment, that we make sure they meet their obligation.
Yeah.
And then there are other obligations in here as well, in terms of, you know, the payments and auditing those, I mean, because they do send some financial statements along with it, because whenever you're giving a payment based on gross revenue, you obviously have to understand how the gross revenue was calculated. Another win was our definition of gross revenue was inclusive of some things that were excluded before. So you would think gross revenue is gross revenue, but Comcast would prefer to exclude certain fees and monies that they collect for example, programming guide fees that they charge affiliates or some of these other fees, and they only add up to maybe a few $100,000 a year in a territory where they're collecting, tens of millions. But it does add up and it does increase the payments they make to MMN. And so we need to make sure that when we get the first few checks, that we look at their formula and how they're calculating everything and make sure it matches the contract that was agreed to by them. Because there's a lot of people at Comcast, obviously, they're going through and trying to make sure that their calculations are correct, but we obviously want to make sure that it matches.
Right.
No, discuss.
I don't know if you know everybody. This is Sandeep from the school committee.
So he's
So
one of
our
our
liaison?
new members.
So yeah.
Sandeep and I were at a meeting together last night.
Marie is on the committee, as well as Megan is on the committee, and Nancy Pierce is from Carlisle. She is representing Carlisle's interests but the only official committee members here would be you, Vince, Corey, and Megan. And then we also have another member, Erwin, who's absent. Paul's not actually
No,
a
I'm
member of the
a
committee, he's a
liaison.
liaison from the
Select
select,
board.
so he can't vote.
But you're a member?
Yes, he is
Yeah.
a member.
Okay.
Because
Used to me, but yes.
Yes, so when you look at the charge of
I
the
didn't
committee,
realize
it
that
says
either.
one member shall be appointed by
He's
the.
appointed by,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
I wasn't appointed, I'm just,
Right, well, it's just like,
I was given the honor to be
Yes.
the liaison.
and so Vince is termed out technically.
Yes.
And we are looking for a new chair, but Vince has offered to serve until the select board appoints a full slate of members. Corey has termed out for her first, not termed out, but she's completed a term and she's kind of done after that, but she is willing to serve until we appoint some new people. So we're soliciting, community interest forms.
So
and-
there are 5 members, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
Corey's,
Right, Erwin, yes.
wait, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Erwin.
And Erwin is out of town.
Right.
So it's Erwin, Megan, Corey.
Corey, Vince, and Sam.
So I guess the question I was gonna ask was, these contracts that you're working on with
Yeah.
Comcast, how long of a contract?
They're 10-year agreements. We just settled a 10-year agreement.
Got it.
And that process took about 2 years to go through. It started with, community, education campaigns, surveys, meetings that we did, Carlin and Vince and I and others from the committee to solicit feedback from the public. We targeted specific groups to try to come and give us feedback. And it was basically like, we are negotiating a contract. What are you looking for? What are you not happy with our contract? Now, of course, people get into all sorts of things like, well, I want better cell service. I was like, well, we can't solve that with a Comcast contract because it's limited to the scope of the Cable Act, which covers public education, government channels, and a license agreement. Town of Concord licenses Comcast to the access to the right of way to sell their services to residents and businesses here. And then the town gets a bit of money in exchange for that, and that pays for the studio and for the salaries of the people that work for MFN. And so the contract is good. We're very happy. It's a 10-year agreement because the way things are going, we don't know if there will be cable TV in 10 years, so to have an agreement, a lot of people like Verizon are only doing 5-year agreements now because of the uncertainty of streaming and of internet, and other over-the-top features that the Cable Act only applies to cable TV programming. So when we get 5% of the annual gross revenue from Comcast, that's from cable TV sales and associated, sales like advertising and other things. It's not their internet sales. Internet and TV are totally separate divisions. We can't negotiate for free internet or anything like that. They're totally separate companies and subsidiaries within Comcast. So anyway, so we take the summer off, the committee takes the summer off. We're just kind of doing a refresher overview of the contract and then obligations going forward. So I think I'm wrapping up the responsibilities, but one of the core charges for PAC, as Vince has pointed out in the last few meetings, is being the liaison if there's an escalation or a problem that customers have, that they can go somewhere. And they can obviously come to staff, they can go to the town manager's office, they'll report it, and it'll always get to the right person. But in the past, without staff, because MMN was, previous to that, was a not-for-profit entity. And we had no control over how they handled things. So PAC was the liaison, the middle person between the resident who might have a problem and then this not-for-profit who doesn't have to listen to me, they have to listen to the town because the town is giving them the money. So I tell the town tells the not-for-profit. And as you'll see here in a minute, we're gonna talk about the mission statement, which we've talked about, Vince, for many meetings, but the charge for PAC was really written at a time where that format was a not-for-profit that we had no control over. We didn't have an auditor or an accountant who was looking over the books. We didn't have management that was doing oversight and training and leadership for the staff. They were just a standalone unit that we sent money to, we the town sent our money to, and then hoped that they would follow through on the programming wishes that people had and the other things, the objectives that the town might have. And so this just dovetails into that same conversation because one of those responsibilities that PAC used to have is really handled by staff a lot now. People generally tend to email the town and say, hey, my cable service has been terrible. I've called Comcast 20 times. What can I do? And then Julie and I can usually reach out to the people responsible and get it addressed pretty quickly. So anyway, so I think, Vince, you have in here Q&A. Do you want to ask if there's any questions from anybody here about the contract other than what I've described? Or
Yeah, well, let's ask, is anybody else here, raise your hand or any questions on the contract? I had one question, Jason, and that had to do with this minimum level of cable TV service. There used to, in the agreement, there used to be something that said that any resident of Concord could get what's called basic cable. And that consisted of something like 20 or 30 channels.
Right.
And is that now absorbed into something else or?
So that wasn't really for us to prescribe to them in the last contract because the Cable Act is very clear that we can't dictate their programming or their bundles or their packages or what they sell. But they kind of agreed because it had been there in the contract before to continue it last time. But this time they were like, we can't commit to any bundles because, coming from up top, they just said, everything is being standardized. We can't have Concord offers one bundle and Carlisle offers a different bundle because the billing system just is not practical to do that. So that guarantee of a very basic tier of service is something that is not in the current agreement. In its place was the sort of the senior discount and some of the other side letters that we were able to get in agreeing to things. And that's the other thing I'll mention just for the people that are new to this is that there's the agreement, which is the actual contract. Then there are side letters where Comcast is pledging to do something. Now, there are strategic reasons why they may not want it in a contract. All contracts have to be filed with the DTC and everybody can see them. So as soon as our contract was filed, Worcester is reading our contract and then they're in negotiations now. So they're saying, well, we just saw Concord got this and we want that. Or we just saw the Carlisle negotiate for this. A side letter, it's obviously still a public document and then we talk about it in terms of what we've got. But it stays a little bit outside of the common view. And so they prefer that. And then also, while they're promising to do it for a while, they're not contractually obligated to do it forever, which is, again, a benefit for them, but a benefit for us to get anything as a result of it. And there were a few side letters. I don't know that I have them all up right away, but I can tell you the electronic programming guide was one of those side letters that we got where the electronic programming guide today is not technically possible, but the agreement is that as soon as it becomes possible, they will make it available to us. They just didn't want to contractually agree to it because it's not feasible today.
So when somebody subscribes to cable, they get just one set of channels. Is there any
There are
a la
packages.
carte?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
different
I mean,
packages.
Comcast has packages and certain things they can add on. In the old agreement, it said Comcast will offer, do you remember when it was $20 a month or something?
Yeah,
It was a very low.
Basic, right.
Very basic. Now, they still have a low cost basic, but I don't know if it's $20. And that's the thing that they were like, we can't, and we checked and legally we can't force them to offer a particular. But it was nice while we had it because.
So the subscribers still have a choice of what packages.
course,
Yeah.
So nothing changed. And in fact, there were not a lot of people on that because if you really were using your cable TV, you wanted more channels than those 18 or 20 that you.
Well, and you know, most people in town have actually, you know, a Comcast, triple play package. You know, it's gonna be the TV and the internet service and phone, as a matter of fact, because they have a phone service there. But I think a lot of that is fading away as far as Comcast is concerned. But they also have another program called Comcast Now, which is a prepaid service. So you get it by the month, and they have two levels of internet coverage on that. I think one is 20 and one is 45 or something like that. Another part of that Comcast Now package, which you can get separately, I believe, is again, a set of basic cable TV sections. But I think it's actually somewhat less than what you got with the cable box. Oh, and the other issue is, I'm not sure that it does not have the same local coverage. So, you know, it's not like you get ABC, NBC, and CBS.
Jason, does Comcast use the same poles in town? And they're not, their poles are they? They're,
So all the poles in town are joint owned by Verizon and CMLP.
Yeah.
And Verizon maintains about half the poles, mostly north of Route 2, and CMLP maintains the poles south. And all the pole attachments and that access to the right of way, that's what this franchise payment is for.
got it.
It's basically for them to attach to all of our infrastructure. They're underground too, obviously, right? They're going through the right of way, they're in streets and conduit. So basically for that access to their customers, our residents and businesses, is what they're paying the money.
So in storms, if there's an outage, CMLP takes care of.
Right, so CMLP repairs the poles, puts the power back, and then calls. other
Comcast
providers.
takes care of their.
Exactly,
uses. Got
Verizon
it.
takes care of theirs. Concord Broadband takes care of theirs, so. Different
Yeah,
people up on those poles. Sometimes there's private fiber. Department of Corrections has some, Raytheon has some. So we have pole attached.
sometimes a small cell,
Yeah,
AT&T
exactly,
small cell. right?
exactly.
Well, it's just happened with AT&T. The ones, you know, over by Sudbury Road,
Yep.
Thoreau Street.
Those are moving forward.
Is
The
that
poles have been
a
replaced.
sign of the future?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that. One of the challenges is Concord has a bylaw that says that we're undergrounding all of our power infrastructure. So small cell works well when you have the poles to stick it on top, but when you don't have poles or light posts everywhere, comes a challenge where to put that and how to get access to it. So I think you'll see more small cell now that the board has a policy on doing it. And AT&T continues to express interest in maybe trying a couple other different areas. And they'll see how effective it is at filling in the gaps instead of the macro site.
I have a question for you, which maybe we can discuss offline at some point about what Wellesley is.
Yeah.
That's where our previous light director,
Oh, yes,
yeah, so
yes.
anyway, that's an offline thing.
You're going off topic, but I do want to talk to you about West Concord, a small cell at some point. Anyway, where are we?
All right.
We are just concluding the Comcast. And by the way, thanks again to Jason and particularly Sue Buskey for doing the
Yes.
nitty-gritties of this negotiation.
Wow, yes.
Great.
More than thank you. Cartwheels and fireworks and whatever we could, you know. A big bonus at the end of the year, Jason.
I would agree. I second that.
You get your own channel.
Right, exactly. Channel, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
MMN.
Yes.
update.
Well, let me start by informing you, what is this music that's going on? Have
I
you
was
been
gonna
here?
ask that. It's more than music,
Some
percussion.
screaming and stuff. So on the other side of the wall, not directly, but on the other side of the wall is the high school recording studio. Because this school has a TV station, a radio station, a recording studio. They have a yoga studio. They have a art gallery, you know, there's everything here. One of the things is a recording studio. And every Thursday afternoon is the Reverb Club. So I would propose maybe, if it bothers you, we don't meet on Thursdays.
One thing you should know, I don't hear it through Zoom.
But when the meeting first started, they were screaming.
They
You
were
missed that
screaming.
one. They were screaming. Anyway, so that's what's
All right,
going on.
sorry.
we are trying to get it, there's an audio leak. And we think it's related to the beams in there and,
But you would think it's on the other side of this wall, it's not, it's about
Yeah.
25 or 30 feet
Yeah.
beyond it.
Yeah.
And it comes through.
so what's on the other side of the curtain is the bathroom for the teachers, men's and women's. Then there is a hallway break. And then you have to go down the hallway a little bit more to get to that recording studio, so it's a serious audio leak.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they think it's see where that foam stuff is, the gray stuff, it's coming through there, but anyway.
But Ned and Owen are trying to help us, and there's a new facilities director for the public schools now that we're gonna work with him, hopefully, see if we can get it. So in the meantime, what we've done is across the hall behind me, we have a new podcast studio. We've rearranged the furniture and all of the equipment around here, got rid of, we just did a big clean out where we recycling old equipment that's like 10 years old. And giving us now, at the end of the day, we have two studios, a Studio A and a Studio B. That's the smaller one, and it's for podcasting. So we're excited to launch that we have an exclusive podcast studio now. And we're gonna buy soundproofing for the walls and get a nice podcast table. And the other reason why we did that is because the number of podcasts are growing. It's really becoming more popular now. We have 4 ongoing podcasts. One is with the Carlisle Town Manager. The second one is called Civic Concord with Megan Zamudo, the Concord Deputy Town Manager. We also have a kids podcast. We also have one with a Concord organization called Concord Prison Outreach. They have an ongoing podcast. And just to go back to the kids one, the brothers called the Kugler Brothers, and they are middle school students. And they actually won an award for the podcast that they make here at MMN. So we're getting a lot of, just even today, I got a call from Emerson Hospital. They're looking to do a podcast. So the podcast activity is growing. We're doing more of those actually than videos in.
So if someone wants to start a podcast. they
Yes.
Contact you.
Yes, if you're a Concord resident, student, or employee, you can come here and we will help you record your podcast for
Or
free.
business.
Or business, true. So we record them, edit them, and then we put them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So for example, if you were to go on Spotify, you would find the Carlisle Connection. And that's where they come in and they talk about a variety of town topics, just like Megan is starting to do. Jason was her guest on the last podcast about cell tower and.
And then we did one at the time of day. We
Okay.
did 2.
Too, yeah. So we'd love to have anybody come in, do a.
And Jim Sherblum did one, didn't he, on the history of Concord?
Exactly. He did. Yes. We haven't seen him in a while, but he did one. So that's exciting.
There are a lot of posts on that, in the podcast, if people want to show pictures and stuff like that. Do that in the post, and it's a lot of the podcasts, involve it.
A lot of most of these podcasts are just audio only.
Oh, okay.
The only one that's a video podcast or a vodcast is Concord Prison Outreach.
Yeah.
That one is film.
So Judy, do you have any kind of standards on what, or do you blanket approve everything? Is there a certain kind of content that you allow and certain that you don't?
Well, we were talking about SA. Generally, we have to, so that's a really important question. So of course, we support free speech and whatever our residents want to say or talk about. The only restrictions would be if it's something commercial where you come in your business and you're selling something, you're talking about prices and call to action to make a purchase.
And we can also help people create content, but not necessarily post it ourselves or like on our. So in other words, like if you're a resident and you want to make something, you can use the equipment, use the studio, record it and do what you want with it. It doesn't mean that we're going to put it on TV or put it on our channels and things. But if it has public good, and it's something that would, benefit the public to see or hear, that's when we will help promote it as well, right? So
Yeah.
we can have different levels of engagement. And obviously you can also borrow equipment. The team will teach you how to use it. You can go film something and
Mhm.
they'll show you how to edit it. And, you know, they're doing that a lot with students too, to try to
Yes.
get.
We were talking about outreach and communication. Is that what we're talking about widely known in town? Is there a podcast about podcasts?
That's a great question. I don't understand podcasts. Do people just sit and listen to things?
Aside from
It's
that-
just a radio
Yeah,
show.
that's Paul's.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Oh, on demand,
It's
Corey.
just a radio show.
All right.
Back to what Orson Welles used to do way, way, way back. when.
Okay. Now I get it. All right. You can do your ironing and listen
Yes.
if
Absolutely.
you
Right.
iron. Yeah.
The opportunities here about
Mhm.
podcasts, about renting equipment, about how widely is that known in town?
So I
I
think,
don't think it's widely. I know
It's not.
I'm of the opinion, and I live at Concord Green, so I can get a lot of opinions on a dog walk. um, that people know. The leaders, we have a group of people in town who seem to be good at everything, and serve in many ways. And so the same people do most of the work, but the other people don't have any idea of where the TV station is, that they could access it, do a podcast.
access is another conversation we've had a lot in the past. We are in a school. The agreement with the school allows people to use the studio outside of school hours, but not during school hours unless they are of the student population or town employees or board or committee members. So there's definitely a challenge for access. The staff generally work business hours. So there's a few hours at the end of the day where there might be availability. Sometimes the band is playing and it's hard to hear
Yeah.
and record, but so I think
Jason,
that- yeah.
can I ask something? Why can't we go during the normal? It's not. You don't walk into the school to get to the.
Right.
Our own entrance.
Right, but this space is not paid for, the school gives us the space with an agreement, and the agreement stipulates that, so. I think if we would look to change the agreement, it would have to be a conversation with the school. So,
We do that and pay them $10 or whatever.
I don't think it's a money thing, right, I think it's a.
No, I understand that, but I think my feeling is we overregulate all the time. And I don't know of any incident that ever happened in this studio. I could be misinformed here, that would affect the students in the school.
Well, we will take that conversation to the right people and see if there's an opportunity to change that or update it.
Yeah.
I can tell you, we've had conversations even in Julie's tenure about it, and there are concerns, and I think some of them are valid concerns. So I think that, there's the studio itself, right? But remember, people have to come here and park here and wander around here. There are students who go to Beatty or who walk around the campus, and I think there is a valid concern of just like the number of people who are here on site who are not of the student population, and what are they doing here?
But
So-
that's consistent after 3 o'clock,
Right.
there's no magic moment when strange people disappear and aren't on campus.
Let me just finish my thought on outreach. You need some serious outreach
Yes.
to figure, because you have some valuable assets to the town here.
Right.
It's not,
That's why I'm having this conversation.
I'm not singling you guys out because that's endemic in the town, there's lots of good stuff that people don't know about.
No.
Well, this one too is like, there is staff, and it's not like the staff are sitting here going, gosh, I wonder what we could do today. I hope more people will come through and ask.
I know,
them."
okay,
Right,
But-
right.
constraint,
Right,
time is a constraint, staff is a constraint, but
Right.
aside from the constraints,
right, the knowledge, right,
No, it would.
for
be-
sure,
Yes. Yes,
we agree.
okay,
we agree.
suggest.
Yes. Think we need an, yes. More
Can I
so.
ask you a question about equipment,
Sure,
and I know you want to
Sorry.
get to the next topic,
it's okay.
you still have plans for, I remember you talked about equipment and upgrading the townhouse and.
Yes.
But what's the plan over the next year about equipment and upgrading?
So in our budget for FY 26, we have the money and we are gonna be upgrading the equipment in the townhouse. the little control room that's in the, not little, but the control room that's in the back of the hearing room right now.
Yeah.
We're upgrading all of that equipment.
And the sound in the hearing room.
Yes,
is like where the-
speakers, everything.
Great.
It's gonna be beautiful. Yeah, that's our big project. And we already have our vendor working on a quote for us. They know what we need. That's in action.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially select board meeting room. You can hear each other. Yes, okay. So, all right, so we spoke about the space. So let's talk a little bit about student engagement. So we are open for the kids to come in during Flex Block, which happens on Wednesdays and Fridays, as you probably know, and they can choose from a long list of things that they can go to during that time. Maybe they're making up a test, maybe they're studying, or they come here and they want to learn about editing, or they're working on a video project. So we participated just last week in the club day, activities day, they call it, where in the cafeteria, all the clubs had a table. And Tori was there explaining, we had 50 kids sign up. That's a lot.
Yeah. But I'm not surprised. I mean, you guys do a great job and have great equipment.
Many years before I got here, the doors were closed and there was no student engagement. So we're definitely getting the word out and promoting ourselves within the school. That's been growing and growing easily. Like, for example, just last week, we had a bunch of teachers in here that wanted to borrow our studio to film a video that they were doing, an internal video, nothing that we would air. But the principals know us, of course, Dr. Hunter knows us, many teachers know us. They know we're well known within the walls here, so we're getting more student engagement, which I don't know, was one of the first things we talked about when I joined, and I know Dr. Hunter really wanted. So that's happening. We also have a student who is an intern for us. His name is Ron Chen, and his mother is Agnes Chen, who is the Chinese Mandarin teacher here.
Is that new?
Yes,
Is it the first time a student is an intern?
since I've been here. Yeah,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
so intern paperwork, but he comes in 3 days a
It-
week.
The question was, is this the first time there's been an internship? And Julie said in her time.
Okay.
So just talking about the townhouse, as everybody knows, the meetings rooms were closed over the summer because of the air conditioning issues. So we're told now, as of October 1st, the meeting rooms are gonna be open again? Or they were already last
They're
week?
open now.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, okay, so we'll be back doing that again. League of Women Voters has started up, so we're starting to get busy in the summer. We're quiet, but that's picked up. We have a new boss coming on Monday. Very sad to see that Jason's no longer, but we're excited for Jeff to come. So that's big news. And now let's talk about our apps.
Well, wait, before,
Yes,
can I
please.
just say about the transition? So
Please.
Jeff Weiner has been hired as the Chief Information Officer. He starts on Monday, the 29th. I'm sitting in temporarily in this role, in this capacity, as I am the Light Plant Director right now. But I had previously, before I was Light Plant Director, been the Chief Technology Officer, and at that time, MMN was under my purview. So when the last CIO left in May, I became the acting CIO. I've been filling in. Of course, we took a lot of the summer off, but I'm still working with MMN and supporting them in the meantime. So Jeff will be the new CIO, will be in charge of GIS, IT operations, and Minuteman Media. And I'll be working with Carrie, the town manager, and Jeff on a transition plan to figure out how to make sure that he's up to speed with PAC, with Comcast, with Julie and her team. So
Mhm.
You're not going anywhere. You're just gonna.
I'm not going anywhere. I'll
Yeah.
still be here.
How do you spell his name?
Weiner. He is coming to us from the Wakefield Public School District, and he is their Director of Technology.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, clear. So, okay, next we can talk about the new streaming apps. Drum roll, please, Vince, finally. So because we, last year, we purchased a new broadcast server. It's just big production equipment. It's in the equipment room. I can show you. Part of that now is, so Corey. so
Yeah.
If, so you can watch Minuteman Media on good old fashioned television. We have 3 channels, soon to be 4 channels. But if you don't have Comcast cable, if you're not paying that cable bill, if you've cut the cord, you can still watch us on a streaming apps that you can find on your smart TV, or you can find them on your phone. And it is Roku, Apple, Android, Google Play, Amazon Fire Stick. Can you find
Yes.
it? Can you pull up
Is
what,
Sling on that too?
and who?
Is Sling on that? Sling, I think it's called.
No, it's not on Sling, but
So
if
wait, do
you
want me to
have,
share the app, or do you want me to play the video that Matt put on, or what did you say?
I'm sorry, in Teams, I sent a little, image that shows all of the apps in one image. It's just a
Okay,
handy dandy little guy.
Give me a minute, I'll pull
Yeah,
it up. Keep-
So Corey, if you have Sling, that tells me you have a smart TV.
No, I don't have Sling, but I have a smart TV. I have Comcast.
So if you have a smart TV, then you can have access to these apps. And it's just another way, like I said, for people who are not paying for cable, or people who are living outside of Concord. Anybody in the world can now watch our programming.
Well, the other thing too, I think, is that, for the people in Concord, almost everything was available, by looking at the MMN channel on YouTube.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
right. That-
perfect,
that's my
thank you.
Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah.
That was
But,
better.
Actually, this
There they
is
are.
a more comprehensive version, basically, of the MMN channel on YouTube.
So there are the logos representing the.
What's the little green one with a,
Android, so Apple, Android, Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV, which is an Amazon stick.
Mhm.
So Roku and Amazon, well, Apple TV is a product too, but you can plug them into your TV, or they are often preloaded apps that are on your TV itself, so you don't
Right.
actually need any hardware. So with no money, people can sign into these products and get them. And in a second, I'm going to share my phone screen so you can actually
Great.
see what these things look like. But go ahead, keep talking.
No, I mean, we don't want people to cut cord, right?
Right.
As we just finished our Comcast contract conversation. But it is unfortunately the reality that people are. Right? People want you anywhere in the world. So Jason will show you.
All right, so I have this is my phone in real time. And I've just launched the MMN app, and this is the home screen will show you the 3 channels, and we're gonna work on those little gray graphics there, as well as some recent videos that you can see, and some of these were added 4 hours ago, a day ago, so there's recent content on there. But if I click on the government channel, and click play, fingers crossed, now I'm watching what's live being broadcast on TV. And of course, a lot of our content is on YouTube as well. So that's great if you know what you want to watch, but if you don't know what you want to watch, or something is live and it's not on YouTube yet, or it's not been streaming live, this is a way for you to see a meeting that's actually happening right now. And you can get to all 3 channels, and there is actually a search that will search through some of the older content as well.
So MMN is an app?
MMN is an app. It's
Yeah.
called MMN Media. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so you can search for it in your app store, and
Yes,
something that we'll want to publicize everywhere, of
Yes.
course, for people.
Except we don't have any cell coverage and you can't connect.
And it's very comprehensive, so, it does handle more than YouTube, and as I was mentioning previously, is that potentially it can act as an aggregator, because within the app, there's a way to set links, to their sources, so we can have links to the bridge. For instance, in that case, that would be the online, version of the bridge. And it can also be, for instance, to the League of Women Voters website. And they have their own website, specifically for Concord. So potentially it can be a kind of one-stop shopping source. There are differences in formats and things like that, so, you know, you still have to do a little work, but for instance, the Council of Aging, things I mentioned previously, maybe you weren't here yet, publishes a monthly newsletter. So by having a link to that, you can immediately see all of the events that the Council on Aging is doing in a particular month, and it's quite comprehensive. So, it will be, it's not perfect yet because the formats are all different and everything. But in the future, and maybe AI will be a big help in this area.
Yeah.
It can be, Corey, just what you said, you know, how can you find out what was going on that week, that month, you know, that particular of time for both, you know, civic events and also, you know, who's got the best restaurant deals and what is Cafe Nero doing and, you know, anything else. And in fact, you know, and of course, you know, and the people that want to support local business, you know, to the extent that that's been kind of, you know, taken under the wing of, you know, the some groups in town in terms of, you know, trying to cover everybody. You know, you can have the cheese shop and everybody else if they're having a sale.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, they'll be able to give you, you know, commercial coverage as well.
So the other piece of this is we are going to be able to soon live stream meetings. Whereas now, select board meetings and school committee meetings, if you either show up in person, you jump on the Zoom, or soon you'll be able to watch it live, either on your television in your living room or on your phone. Without participating as a Zoom member, you're just watching it, which will come from our cameras in the room. That's the future.
In the future would be months, years?
Months.
Months?
Yeah. We
Okay.
need to work with Toby on the encoders. Because we tested it and yeah, we'll talk offline about that. So, and then any questions on the, these are called OTT apps, which stands for over the top. Go, over the top of your regular cable. Yes, exactly. It's going over the top of your cable and it's streaming. This is all right. So if you ever hear OTT apps, you know what that is. Okay. And then finally, some good news. We are possibly going to be receiving 2 awards. We are finalists for an awards. So in our business, in our world, our industry organization is called the Alliance for Community Media. And they do award ceremonies for the best of videos. And coming up is going to be, we've in the past won national contests. Coming up is going to be the Northeast Regional Contest, which is from Maine to New York City. And we submitted awards and we are finalists in 2 categories. And they're only a few minutes, so I thought I would show you the videos that are up for finalists. We won't know if we're the winner until we attend the event, which is going to be in November. That's how they do it.
Which one is it?
So the first one,
Is it one of these?
so we can start with yes. What events do we do? So in the category of overall excellence in our budget against others, this is the video that we submitted.
I should make sure I share sound.
No,
Oh dear.
oh dear,
You're gonna have to ask friend Mr. Barron to come in and type that.
he had to leave.
Okay.
Well, the room can, people. in the
Well,
room
they won't, I
can't
don't
hear.
know that they're gonna hear it though.
Oh,
Can you tell if you hear this? Corey, did you hear this?
I declare the class.
Corey, did you hear that?
Yeah, I see it. Yes, I do. Educational events. And I see a graduating class in front of me.
Corey, could you hear it, the audio or no?
Well, no. Let me see if I have anything that I can.
2024 officially dismissed.
I say something.
The shakers would make these boxes, and the way they would do it is they'd find some wood, they'd cut a tree down, And then they would dimension it down to a smaller size, about this big.
Good morning, and welcome to the 2024 Patriots Day Parade.
I wanted to be here because you were here. Because you are showing up here and in communities all over the country to lay claim to our democracy.
Welcome to episode 16 of Concord Stories.
It's the 6th edition of Sports 101, and today we're adding a new sport, wiffle ball.
That there's no sound on that. Or that. Or that. That.
My nephew, my wife's sister, and her son, James. They were the ones that motivated us to join the military.
You can see things are looking mostly clear today, but there are several frontal systems to the west, which will be advancing into our region for tomorrow. Rain will be anticipated for most of the weekend.
This began to change in the early 18th century as Concord became the judicial and administrative center after the American Revolution.
So the question is, how can we acknowledge the legitimate regional housing interest that the governor has and that the legislature writ large has, and balance it beautifully against the very strongly felt closer in motivations and regions that we have?
Welcome to another edition of Local Look, a local town government news program for Concord, Massachusetts. I'm your host, Carlin Reed. Today, my special guests are Linda Miller, the chair of the Concord Planning Board, and Elizabeth Hughes, our town planner.
Question here is that Mr. Dane moves that the town amend the appropriations made under Article 9 of 2023 annual town meeting, the town budget.
Shall we use the consent agenda procedure? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, nay?
We'll begin this evening with public comment. Public comment is for up to 15 minutes for items not otherwise on the agenda.
When you were discussing English and math department curriculum, you talked about vertical alignment and horizontal alignment for the lay folk.
Moving right along. Town meeting debrief with the moderator.
So we submitted that and are a finalist. And
I think in the interest of time, we probably shouldn't show the one that's already,
Oh.
we're past our.
I'm so sorry. Okay, I'll send you, I can email you the other one. The other one's really cute.
You've won awards recently.
Yes.
Which award did you?
Well, most recently, we won an award for the kids podcast. Maybe you saw that advertised. And then
Before that?
prior to that, we won for a video we did about the Carlisle playground. Say again?
The road playground.
Oh, sure, grand opening. Send us the dates, we'll go. And then there is another adorable video that became as a finalist in the category of community impact, where Matt went to the COA and filmed a video about the van shuttle drivers. Interviewed the people who use it, interviewed the drivers. We put the camera in the van and we drove around with it. And that's nominated as well. So that is the end of my report.
Excellent. Wow.
I know, I always talk a lot.
A lot of substance. People who talk a lot that have a lot of substance are the best. People talk a lot without substance.
Nobody has any further questions, but actually I've got to leave. Quite
I know, I'm
quickly.
sorry.
No, it's very interesting. So the next item on the agenda, item 6, is the mission statement.
Oh.
Post Comcast contract signing. And just to give you a little bit of background, the what used to be called the Cable Committee
Yeah, that was.
that operated for 2014 and 2005 disbanded after the agreement, the new agreement was signed. And so one question is should that same thing happen this time? And the options, of course, are continue as basically everything that we've discussed today would, potentially be continued in some form according to, the specific items of interest in the agenda. And there is kind of a third option, but I think it really only applies to maybe some individuals on the committee and not the committee as a whole, and that would be, to morph into something else. And that isn't quite clear, but there is kind of a gap in the long-range plan for the town, called Vision 2030. And one of the big gaps, of course, is that internet is not only mentioned once, and that has to do with its possible impact on local businesses. So it seems like some update is due, and so that update, in my kind of thinking at this point, is much broader, but it's not necessarily the responsibility of one committee. It would be something called connectivity, communications, and information. And that is actually, something that is shared by, many of the other departments in town, because connectivity basically includes things like the roads. But as far as this committee is concerned, it isn't like there would be some kind of transition to that kind of future. So I think, the basic transitions are to continue this on maybe something equivalent to now. If there are particular changes that we can discuss over the next 2 or 3 months, we can make our recommendations to select board. Committees exist, at the, kind of the endorsement of the select board. So even to disband, we would have to get the endorsement of the select board to disband. But hopefully, that's something that, since we potentially have 3 more meetings ahead of us this year, that we can discuss.
I'm curious, in the mission statement, Minuteman Media is not mentioned as this being advisory group or consultative group to Minuteman Media. Is that just because this is out of date, or is that, is that?
What's on the top is the mission statement specifically for, and it's the current one on the website for the PEG Access Advisory.
Oh, I know.
Now, as we have discussed in the past, I think Jason, you and I and Julie have discussed that, is that Minuteman Media's mission is kind of implied almost in the mission for the committee, because our principal reason for existence is to, oversee the activities of Minuteman Media, but it's kind of implicit at this point. I don't really think it's stipulated anywhere.
But it's worth an update, the whole mission statement.
Yeah. And so our missions are definitely integral.
I mean, there are a number of committees, commissions that are advisory to various departments in town. I mean, that's perfectly appropriate.
Well, in particular, I mean, there's some
helpful advisory to, to Minuteman Media as being a primary mission.
Yeah. Well, in the case of the light board, in fact, that committee has got particular responsibility in setting the rates of electricity in town. And, that's very strong responsibility. I'm not sure if any of the other enterprise committees, is that true? Like
Public Works Commission.
Public Works.
Water and Sewer.
So
Those
water
enterprises.
rates, do they actually have
Yep.
responsibility for that?
Sewer rates, water rates, trash rates,
Yeah.
recycle.
Stormwater rates.
How do you feel about that as advisory?
Sure.
I just, it's,
So this conversation has gone in cycles for years, and I
Right.
think part of the problem that has popped up historically is steady interest from people. I think when the town had a stake in the game, they felt like it was important to advocate for their needs and make sure that everything that they wanted was happening in the transaction between CCTV and the town. We're giving you this money. We want to make sure, like, what are you spending that money on? Is it-
Whoa, the town's not giving the money.
Oh, this is in the past.
Okay.
So in the past, the town was taking in the franchise revenue and then had an agreement with CCTV to say, we will pay you X dollars in exchange for these services. And there were no town staff monitoring that transaction. So this committee, the cable committee, was the one doing that. And now that this is a town department, falls under the purview of the town manager and has, the finances run through the town financial team and the town accountant and is audited, and the charge is necessarily going to look different because those checks aren't needed, but maybe other things are. And so I think there's always been a question of like, is there enough citizen interest and engagement to do something that is advisory, where it's like, oh, we'd like to chat about this, or because I think what we'd really like is for citizen advocates who can help get the word out, who can support students and staff, like that's great. But there just hasn't been that level of interest for people wanting to sign up to that because they understand that all these other things are not really needed. So that's where, and we've had this conversation, Vince, right, for 3 years, basically, of like.
you know, there are very few committees, commissions where the interests of the town and the schools overlap. They do here. I mean, this is really an asset to.
And also, we have had conflicts in the past about whether the town can use the subscription money. And that's something I feel very strongly about, that the town doesn't, that it stays with the station for the purposes laid out. So I don't know how we as a community guarantee that without a committee.
Federal law prohibits a municipality from taking that money and using it for its general fund, for example. It has to stay that way. And PEG here is set up as an enterprise. And so 100% of the money that comes in from that franchise agreement stays in the PEG budget. So
What if the Fed change that tomorrow, as the Fed right now is
There is state legislation that requires
So
the town to utilize that for the MMN activities. And I will dig up that. piece
all
of-
right, so there are state and federal regs. Is there a town bylaw or town? What's
by law, the charter. No, the charter is silent on the topic of the finances of PEG, but I don't know that they had a license agreement in the 50s or 60s.
No, there is an example of another organization in town, which is the Beatty Center. And that is established as an enterprise fund. And that, is now self-financing, I guess, because they've been quite successful recently. But they have also gotten quite a bit of town money in the past to sustain, both the development and even the operations.
That's town capital.
Yes.
That's still involved in BD.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that, it's not an exact comparison, but, again, it's a fund that, and, an activity that the town basically supports and manages.
So do you want to continue this conversation?
It's an important conversation.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, I do have to get out of here. It's again, what I mentioned, and if, people can read this very brief summary, is that the one on the top is the current mission statement as posted on the town website.
Okay.
And the second one is basically derived from a 13-point bulleted statement, which we reviewed, during the course of our last season here.
If we have thoughts on it, you want us to email it to you, to?
I mean, I would think you would prefer the chair.
But why don't I do that? And then, this will be, very high on our agenda for the next.
Okay, sounds good. And our next meeting is, Thursday, November 20th. It'll be loud, but.
October.
October something. I get one in October.
Let's
I
kind
just
of-
look-
October 30th.
I'm confused on the composition of the vacancies
Yeah.
here. So Corey's rotating off.
Right.
You are on or off right now?
I will be off at the end of the year.
You'll be off at the end of the
Yeah,
year, so.
Well, his appointment could be filled, his position could be filled anytime.
Right.
He's served 2 terms already. So
Right.
he's in this interregnum here where he can continue to stay until the board nominates and appoints somebody.
Well, and I do prefer to cycle off.
So even though I'm looking at you, you're a vacancy.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You're a
Right,
vacancy.
so we have 2 people.
And there's no chair because of,
Right, so Vince is the chair, so the
Yes.
committee can vote another chair.
So we're looking
could-
for a chair.
you could vote another chair now.
Right.
Right.
Well, not now, but I mean.
Well,
yeah.
historically,
next-
Vince has tried to get people to be the chair or
Yes.
the clerk.
Oh, I see.
Nobody has raised their hand,
Ah,
so.
So Erwin and Megan, I don't think
Yeah,
Megan
they
dropped
weren't-
off.
Yeah,
Erwin had a grandchild in another state and spends very little time in Concord these days, although he's still a resident. But, and that's goes back to the problem, which is getting people to come.
and Corey, you're cycling off or you were gonna stay?
I have been asked to stay on until we fill the vacancies,
Okay,
so that you have a quorum.
discussion on mission, I think this may be an exciting time to join and to be the chair of this.
I agree.
If it is really an advisory committee to,
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
And in my mind, I'm thinking if there's any Concord residents who have television or media experience would be great. I'm sure they're out there.
And
Maybe-
my particular interest on this and on the record is getting the town and the schools to work more closely on joint issues or assets of mutual interest, and this is one of them.
In addition, actually, it's very interesting to look at how the school, the government, in the PEG is treated in various towns. In some cases, it's considered to be public education. In other towns, it's school participation. It varies very
Yeah.
widely. And, they're all valid, but, what's interesting is that there's no, or not many towns that have the same idea. More so than on what public means and what government means. That's fairly obvious. Anyway, let's
So-
see.
Okay,
To be continued, mission to be
Yes,
continued.
if
Okay.
Hank is here, we need to adjourn.
so our
Is
next
this
meeting-
your last PEG access meeting?
I'm happy to serve if the town manager wants me to serve in some capacity, but I probably will just come at the invitation of the new CIO. If he wants me to come, I'll be here
When does he start?
Monday.
I think you need a transition.
Yeah, I know,
10 minutes or so.
Jason. So our next meeting is October
30th.
30th,
Sorry,
that's it.
yeah.
Can we dress in costume for that?
Can I say something before the meeting is over? I don't want to interrupt, but I've been waiting.
Nancy.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I'm Nancy Pierce, and I just wanted to make clear, because somebody said that I was here to represent Carlisle's interest. The reason I'm not a member is I just wanted to make clear that I'm press. I'm a reporter I have been a reporter for the Carlisle Mosquito, and I have written about Comcast and related subjects in the past. So the reason that I come to your committee meetings is this is the way that I can keep track if there's something that I might actually want to write about MMN in the future for the Carlisle Mosquito. I didn't want there to be a misunderstanding that there was a press person here at your meetings. I sometimes interject because having written a lot about
Your mic just went,
Oh, poor Nancy.
Well, I think, hopefully, maybe Nancy can still hear us, but, that may be another occasion for, what would be called an auxiliary member. A non-voting member, but, one that, participates and
Mhm.
certainly can offer, a broader range of commentary during the meetings.
Okay,
And
very good.
so we are ready to adjourn, actually, I think we had.
You don't,
Anyway,
you don't have many members.
I think we're adjourned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can- you wanna make a
Okay,
motion?
well, actually, yeah, there is a convention, I think, in Robert's Rules of Order that said, having concluded all of our business and having, invited public comment, having done so, we are adjourned.